Today on Faithfully Fantasy.
So my theory is that it's a dragon. I think that the dragon could have been about to bond with Aaric, witnessed it, and then said, I was about to bond your brother, but he was killed by the Shadow Wielder.
I know there's a theory about it. That maybe once we go to the Aaric Kingdoms, there's gonna be two potential things that we might find there. One is Xaden's mom, that maybe that's the reason we know anything about her after she left. The other one is the 7 dragons, that maybe they escaped from the continent to be safe in the island.
Did he really want them to assassinate Violet, or was he just sending them for Aya?
Hello and welcome to Faithfully Fantasy,
the husband and wife podcast talking all things Iron Flame.
I'm JC.
And I'm Sean.
And today we're going to be diving into chapters 33 to 36 of Iron Flame.
We break into the archives, getting to know Aaric in the process, become kick-ass thieves as Riddick foreshadowed, get sucker punched with a lemonade from someone we thought was a friend, and we find comfort in an old and honourable friend we never thought we'd see again. Oh my goodness, the King's Secret Library. What I wouldn't give to break into that and just sit there and read.
Yes. Okay, so directly to chapter 33?
Yeah. So at the end of the last episode, we descended the steps. Xaden took Violet's hand and they went down to the underground chambers.
Okay, we like to start with the epigraph.
The first time you're caught in the archives after the door seals of the evening will be the last. The complex magics put in place to preserve our texts are not compatible with life. What did this make you think of?
The epigraph is talking about they do everything to preserve the books, so the measurement they'll take for this is not compatible with life. But when it's about Colonel Daxton, for me it's just like had this little thing there. It's maybe Daddy Sorrengail speaking.
Yeah, we've said that before, haven't we? It made me think as well that could have been how he died and they covered it up. They trapped him in there and then they said his heart failed. He wouldn't obviously have been able to write that after he died. I have got a feeling it's Daxton Sorrengail.
There's so many questions about it, like how they managed to create all this like security system to preserve the books. It's like, how you do it? I mean, it's magic. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, that's such a cop-out, isn't it? It's magic. That's easy to explain.
Yeah, that's it. But it's because they're like imbuing the magic in the area, creating kind of like this thing, you know, like what you do with the words, but to preserve the books. Okay, so they go into the royal chamber. Xaden is having the advantage in this case because the shadows is telling everything what's in front of them. So they don't know what's going on, but Xaden knows exactly where are two guards. And he is the one who, I was going to say, he just resolved the problem, knocking down the two guards.
So is it his shadows that are actually doing that?
And fourth win, he said the shadows tell him everything. And I think he really mean it. There's like they come to his ears. I don't know if I like speaking to him or he just is like the intensing, the shadows giving the feeling or giving like the information. So it's like an extension of his other senses.
I wondered if it was intrinsic, but again, I don't know if he has to be looking at somebody or has to see them. It makes more sense for it to be a shadow, but just interesting. Like, what can those shadows not do if they can tell him everything?
So they go into the royal chamber. They doesn't even have a door.
Yeah, just an archway. Isn't it cool how we learn quite a bit about wards in this chapter when we're actually on the hunt for information about wards?
Yeah.
And I just think it's quite ironic that we learn a little bit because it says that Violet's own power surges in answer to what feels like a hell of a threat.
Yeah.
And Aaric doesn't feel the threat. He's like, it's just a hum, it feels fine, which obviously is a good thing good sign that he can get through. Imogen doesn't like them. They feel really uncomfortable within, like, around those wards.
Yeah, I think it's just because those walls were to protect the books and only some people are allowed to pass. That's why Aaric, he feels that, no, it's just a little harm, it's fine. But the other one is like giving the warning, don't come closer. So I think maybe it's just like that magic telling to the power they have inside, there's like a repellent. That you shouldn't go there.
Yeah, how do you think they made them? Do you think they needed the blood of the king or something?
Has to, or I don't know if it has to be specifically the blood, because obviously the children, they can go inside as well. So
like it's a bloodline, isn't it?
Yeah, but it has to be like the first king, I guess. So it's not even King Tauri's blood, isn't it? It's just because it's...
But that's interesting. Maybe.
Yeah, because you know what is about kingdoms. The kings sometimes change the family line, so it has to be like the first Tauri. I'm not sure if this
maybe,
is
or
the
maybe
first
they
one.
Just redo it every time, but they can't get in without. So how do they? I wondered. I was thinking about this. Would Nadine? Do you remember Nadine, who got killed by the assassin?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Nadine. Her signet was to unweave wards. Would she have been useful here? Would she have been able to unweave them, or are these so solid that not even her signet could break through them?
I think maybe that was one of the reasons that she had to die. Obviously, Rebecca Jarrett know that, okay, I need a prince to open this, so it has to be the prince. But if Nadine is still alive, she might be, it's like, nobody needs a prince or anybody because she can just open them.
So Rebecca created a character, but there didn't seem to be a reason why, apart from to break into Mommy Sorrengail's office when they stole them.
Well, you know that as a writer, you create the tools for the main characters just to use them until a certain point. But if those tools are just too useful,
you have to kill them. Because
you need to give it to the main characters some struggle so the story can be interesting. Otherwise, it would be really boring if the main character can do absolutely everything with no problem. There won't be no suspense, no anything, no story. So I think that,
Nadine,
she will do.
It's just too useful.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting, the blood bit, because these wards, and if they were made with blood, because Violet says later in the book that there are ancient blood magics that she's never read about. I know that she gets the translation wrong, so it could be that, but still.
They're in the entrance, and then Violet is the one who tells to Aaric, like, remember, you only had like 45 minutes to find these books. So Aaric's like, well, you had to search for that. And then he grabs her hand and take it with him to the walls. So they two cross the walls. And then Violet
he shouts, which is like not the best time to be shouting. Like, Violet!
Yes.
It's probably not. It's probably like, Violet! I don't know. You're better at Xaden's voice than I am.
The thing that was interesting for me is their reaction. The shadows were like getting like kind of like a sword, like he's just ready to kill him.
Yeah, we see like 2 examples of that in this, where he just puts sword, like his shadows.
Yeah, like I'm making like a special shield or doing something to surround him. But Violet is able to cross thanks to Aaric. It's the same when she wants to put somebody into her room. She needs to grab the hand, and then the walls allow her to cross.
Yeah, but he wasn't 100% sure that would work. He just had a feeling that his dad would want to show off this room, so he would...
It will bring people with him.
Yeah.
She was feeling a little bit dizzy, I think, after crossing because she was straight away into the floor, into her knees. But she was feeling magic in that room as well.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me, though, was that Aaric, right? We learned so much about Aaric in this chapter. Aaric is super chilled out. He just drops onto the couch. I get a real feeling of like he just puts his arm across the back. He knows he's pissing off Xaden at this point. He knows that he's like, "You all right, Violet?" Like he can see she's all right, but she's struggling. Feels like he's really cocky in this moment.
Well, he is. I mean, he's still a prince, so he has this kind of like attitude that he's just know what he's doing, that he's like really confident in everything that he's doing. And obviously he hates Xaden, and sees Xaden that he's unable to do anything. It just gives maybe that little sparks for Aaric to just push and like, what you gonna do now, Shadow Wielder? You can't even reach here. For me, the interesting part is when Violet said that there's magic in this rune. It's not just the words, there's something else. So what else could be in the rune for her to feel that magic? It could be that maybe the king has more stuff that it's been prohibited, that nobody else has access.
A few things are called out, like Aaric, and you're supposed to think nothing of it, but there's a lot of Tearish history. There's a lot, even one book that Aaric holds up is like arts and crafts, but that made me think of runes. And obviously the Tearish stuff, the arts and crafts, it was supposed to be knots that Xaden was making Violet learn. Perhaps there's lots of runes in there that maybe protect stuff.
It was a little bit confusing for me when Violet was telling to Xaden, oh, there's a lot of Tearish things here. Xaden was like, oh, amazing, we can come back later on and have a look after we won the war. I was like, is he being like sarcastic about it, or actually he mean it? Or like...
No, I read it as sarcasm, but or like just to get her moving. But it also is like, it smacks of foreshadowing that they would either become the Duke and Duchess of Tyrandor. It does feel like foreshadowing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We get to learn a bit more about King Tauri as well, how he likes to show off. So he's a king that likes to show off. He would entertain people in that room perhaps, and he would show them all these amazing things that he's got. But obviously you'd have to be very close to him to know, because there's things in there about Venin, Wyvern, some things that we're supposed to think aren't important but are, like mining practices, and I'm going to get onto that in a little while. Also the fact we find out later that nobody tells him much because they're scared of him. So he takes... I don't know if they even do tell him that these books are missing. I suspect they don't, because Lilith Sorrengail still has one later in the book. And if King Tauri knew, he'd want it back, wouldn't he? Unless she's not telling him everything.
Just a few people knew what happened, because after, well, there's going to be in next chapters, even General Sorrengail, there's like the person in charge of the whole Basgia, knew what happened with the books. So pretty sure they didn't go to the king, even when Mommy Sorrengail knew about what was going on. Yeah. So I think they were just trying to contain all the what was going on until they figure out why she was getting these books, or what was the reason behind it.
So as they go in, she sees the place where the books literally are, and she just glances over it. So there's circular walls with bookshelves with glass doors all around, and a pedestal of cabinetry in the middle, decorated with a velvet tablecloth embroidered with the king's signet, and they're just sitting under the tablecloth. But we don't know. We search, and Xaden gets more and more wound up, and Violet is starting to worry for Aaric's health, which is why she doesn't insist that Aaric pulls him in there, because Xaden's just going to be a liability.
I was wondering as well, why Xaden was expecting that Aaric's going to go there and grab his hand and then pull him with him. Like, they had to grab his hand, isn't it? So why he will do that? It would be like, I don't know, weird, but...
That wouldn't be weird.
He wants to kill him. He doesn't like him. So grab his hand, it would be just like weird for me. If I say then like, come on, let me even when it's just to cross the wall.
Aaric would never let him in, because he's enjoying it too much, the fact that he's on the other side.
Xaden is telling to Violet, I'm gonna kill her. Violet said, well, then you will kill two princes.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, his brother deserved it because he was after Gary during threshing.
He said Alec deserved it, but he wonders who told him. So who do you think told him?
I was thinking about it. Could be something related to maybe his signet. Could be something about it. Could be the dragon as well. So
my theory is that it's the dragon. I think that the dragon could have been about to bond with Alec, witnessed it, and then said that I was about to bond your brother, but he was killed by the Shadow Wielder, or something like that.
I will find it weird if I, as a dragon, like telling this thing just because.
Why not? Because Sorrengail says that she reminds him of his grandfather who she bonded. You have conversations, don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's true the dragon is a blue dragon, exactly as Sorrengail. So I don't know if maybe between blue dragons there are certainly like level of confidence talking about stories about the riders or that kind of stuff. And then
maybe there's a bit of friction between Sorrengail and Aaric's dragon as well. You know how there's friction between Xaden and Aaric.
Mm-hmm.
So he says that he doubts that if the king knew, he would still have his head. Obviously, the leadership know what happened in threshing.
Mm-hmm. Leadership
observe, don't they, what happens in threshing? So somebody's got to know what happens.
I don't know if a leadership knew about it because, you know, when Violet was fighting Jack Barlow and the other two guys, the only one that was there was Xaden. And was because Xaden was following Violet to make sure that she will survive. So threshing is like the perfect opportunity to kill another cadet without leadership, maybe not knowing, because the place when they had to bond the dragons is massive.
I'm going to come back to that, the perfect place to kill a cadet without somebody knowing, when we get to the epigraph in chapter 35.
Okay.
So in this scene we get so many clues. We think we get some clues about potentially about Aaric's signet, which we're going to talk about. We had some responses on our stories to our bid for theories. Do you want to talk about your theory first? What do you think he is? And then we'll get into some of the fan comments.
Yes, so I think he's going to be kind of like, I don't know if it's going to be something like an intensic or something that is like allowed to know information that he shouldn't know. Because it's kind of like weird for me when say that it's referring to like how he found out that kind of stuff. Like how he knows that he was me the one who killed his brother. Or when Violet was having the fight with Dan and the mat, he pretty much he knew like what was going on, because he said like, well, yeah, I figured out that you two are falling out with all the stuff that you've been saying between you two. And when she told Violet after that, she didn't know what was going on. Like, is that all because this thing that he stole from you? So she didn't know what was going on. So he's really perceptive.
Yeah, he's so observant, isn't he?
Yes. So I don't know if it's because maybe he's been in this bubble and the palace, and he need to kind of develop this skill to trying to figure out what people is saying, like reading intentions or reading between lines what's going on.
Yeah, he does panic as well later on in the book when Mommy Sorrengail asks him if he's manifested his signet yet. He kind of says he's panicked, not yet, and he's in a panic. But it's a stressful situation. Bookish Kinsey has a really good reel about all the receipts for him being intrinsic, and it is really good. And I don't have half the number of receipts for the reasons, but I think he's a distance wielder. I think he needs to distance himself between him and the king. There's a mention of a distance wielder later. There hasn't been one for thousands of years. I think that really relates to the fact that the sage is a distance wielder, because we know at Riorson, Liam says he's there, 1 minute he's there, 1 minute he's not. And then later in one of the dreams, I get it. I get why people think that Aaric isn't intrinsic, but I just don't want everyone to be intrinsic. Xaden being intrinsic is fine. Can we just stop it? Yeah.
No, but it's gonna be a different kind of intrinsic, because he read intentions, but he can't read thoughts. But maybe he will be able to read something else. Allow you to know. Well, I don't know if it has to be about intentions as well, or about the truth.
Yeah.
Because he's surrounded by lies, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that agree with you. So Kay Dove, one of the forbidden signets, intrinsic or another forbidden one, because he panicked when asked. So this is he panicked. I really like this one. It is possible that he hasn't actually manifested a signet yet, because Violet took ages, and if you think about the time it takes from threshing to the end of it's not very long. The whole book takes place in about 6 months.
Yes.
So there is a strong chance that he hasn't actually manifested yet. Bookish moments, response, invisibility, because he's been trying to hide that he's at Basgayath from his father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his father's still looking for him. What do you think the king is thinking about? Because obviously the excuse whether he going for a tour for his birthday. But I thought, well, more like 6 months and a year, and he's still having a party.
We've not heard of that as a signet yet. Intrinsic, lishful reading. She promised me a separate message because there must be lots of receipts. I think, again, similar to the stuff that you've been talking about. Who would risk? Distance wielder. It's what he needs at his core to put distance between him and the crown. So yeah, again, a similar thing to me. Something to do with blending in, hands as evidence, and people not seeing who he is. That's a really interesting one, isn't it? That's BP Chand. I can't, when they're long, I can't work out how I don't know what's wrong with me, I'm sorry. But yeah, BP Chand.
It's like when you read in the fantasy names that you like.
Yeah, I know.
Have to read
it. Something to do with blending in, hands as evidence of people not seeing who he is. Yeah, this is really cool. Could he change his appearance, or could he be like non-noticeable? Because maybe he's closer to these conversations than you think.
Or camouflage.
Yeah.
Or like a chameleon, change appearance.
Yeah. He needs to hide his identity. So this is Kylie LB31. He needs to hide his identity. So something based on this need. Again, a similar kind of camouflage. Kelfazim says intrinsic. Sus comments to Xaden, unlikely he hasn't manifested. Family secrets. So she doesn't believe that he's not manifested yet. And the fact that he's got family secrets. We don't know much about Holden. We don't know much about Aaric. I suspect we will learn a little bit more. So again, intrinsic. I think intrinsic is the winner at the moment for the most popular. Kelfazim also says that he knows how to make Xaden squirm, so could be
he's doing exactly the same thing that Xaden normally does to Dane, to like touch it in the right place.
Yeah, but does that mean that maybe Cam can read? Sorry, Cam. Yeah, Cam. His name is Cam. Can read people. I'm not talking about just reading his mind, but again, maybe like a Sherlock Holmes on steroids.
I don't know. You know, like Varrish, he can read weaknesses, so maybe Aaric can read like how to annoy people.
Yeah, I think Xaden's
annoying will there.
Happy Flower says, I think its hints would be given in the squad's archive invasion part. According to me, he's an intrinsic. So again, this is the chapter that everyone thinks that we learn a little bit more. And again, Happy Flower thinks he's an intrinsic. So that's most of the responses that we had. And I think you'll probably win.
You know, if we compare Aaric with Sawyer was like one of the best in his group. Aaric is basically the best in the first years. Yes. So normally when that happens as well, they manifest as well, like the signet quicker as well. I don't know if it's because it's something physical and mental that make you prepare to like handle the signet. Once the dragon starts to channel the power to him, he will develop this signet really quick, and I think it's an iron flame. So I don't think they will finish without him giving like the signet.
So I've got two questions that I want to ask Rebecca Yaris. I had the opportunity, but I missed the barcode. So, number one, if anyone gets a chance at these upcoming live shows in America, one, and you know this one already, what rank was Daddy Sorrengail? Because then I think we could work out if it's Major Offrender or if it's
Colonel Daxton. I think more likely she won. Because she doesn't want to make it really obvious.
I also want to ask whether Aaric manifested his signet and Iron Flame. I've got so much more to say about Aaric. I think he's such a fascinating character. He is so intelligent. He can put things together. Like, he instantly knew they were trying to ward a rebel outpost. He knew that his dad would want to show off things, and that he knows things about people. He remembers that he said, I've known Violet a lot longer than you, and I know that I'm not surprised she's kept your secret to Imogen. He's just super observant about people and very intelligent, and I think that he's got a big role to play. I do ultimately think he will become king.
You think?
Yeah.
I would be interested to see if maybe in Onyx's story and other books we'll see his big brother showing that. Yes, but so far he looks like he's going to just follow King's story in steps because he knows everything that's going on, but he's not going to help.
I think King Tarry will die, Holden may become king, and Xaden will kill Holden, because we've got this previous historical ancient king that was beloved in Pormeel, and a dark wielder killed him. He was hiding in the shadows, and I feel like that's foreshadowing, literally foreshadowing.
History repeating.
We think that history will repeat itself several times, don't we? Yeah, those were really great theories. I am not sure what the question for next week will be, but we will be heading to Arisha.
I'm really glad that so many people just sharing their thoughts about this.
We also get so many offhand mentions of book titles. These books wouldn't be in that vault if they weren't hiding something, would they? They'd just be in the normal archive.
I would like to think that at least one of them is something that is like a clue, a foreshadowing, or something related to Onyx's star. I don't want to think there's gonna be like, the Harry Potter with Fantastic Beasts and where to find that. There wasn't like a proper important thing inside the story, but it was like something important after as well. Like for another series, another movie. But I believe there's a mention about a book. This has to be like related to what's going to happen in Onyx's Storm.
Or at least one of the other three books.
Yeah, and the book that I think is going to be related is History of the Island Wars, because there's 2 mentions about the islands in this episode and this chapter. So I think
and
it's
we
like
know
pointed out that
we know that Violet travels away, so we presume she goes to the islands, the Isle Kingdoms.
Yeah.
The Isle Kingdoms is how they're described, and that means there is more than one kingdom. So there must be multiple kings.
Yes.
A history of the Island Wars. Are these Island Wars before or after Navarre unified? Because they don't trade with the Isle Kingdoms anymore, and we learned that in the history class that Devera takes over. She's a substitute teacher for that. So the question is, are these Island Wars something that happened relatively recently, or are they something that happened years and years ago? And what was the trigger for them? Could the trigger have been that some wanted to fight, some didn't?
I think everything comes after unification. After Navarre was found as a Navarre, the other people from the other kingdoms or the other places, they need to find their own way to secure the people, make sure that Venin are not going to be a problem. So I don't know if they were fighting for resources, they're fighting just because disagreement about how to handle the problem.
So there's a couple that mention the Isle Kingdoms. What's the other one? Then tilt my head to the side to read the spines of the collection in front of me that pertains to the Isle Kingdoms. So there's a whole collection of books on the Isle Kingdoms. The king, the leadership and the king and the rulers of Navarre are clearly trying to hide something that's happening or happened in the Isle Kingdoms, because otherwise those tomes would just be in the regular archive.
I think it's going to be interesting to see is if maybe in these kingdoms there's magic as well. Like there's like a veil for dragons to be there, or something that's attractive for the Venin. Because it's hard to believe that maybe it's just the continent is their only place, and that's why they're constantly attacked by Venin. Or maybe we're going to find out later on there may be Venin in the Isle Kingdoms as well. Maybe a few.
So we had this theory that the seventh den were in the Barrens, don't we? And
Yeah.
we think that Daramore drained the land, wiped out most of the Seventh Den.
Yes.
But there is a sentence that says something like, "That's why I was left behind." That means there was possibly a conscious decision by the other dragons in the Seventh Den to leave, to not join the other 6 dens in the Vale, but to go somewhere else. The remaining the remaining dragons of the Seventh Den could have gone to the Isle Kingdoms, which would make sense why King Towery and leadership would be hiding there, because they don't want wards to be established anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It is stupid though, because if you could give wards to other people, why wouldn't you? And it was like the reason they decided they couldn't was because they only could extend them so far, and they could make this ward, but they didn't know how to make the other ones. So it feels weird to me, unless the 7th Den left and refused to protect these people because they know something about the Navarians in the first 6 that we don't know and is not good.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, are we going to find more of Andana's kind of dragon?
I know there's a theory about it. That maybe once we go to the Isle Kingdoms, there's going to be 2 potential things that we might find there. One is Xaden's mom, that maybe that's the reason we know anything about her after she left. The other one is the 7 dragons, that maybe they escaped from the continent to be safe in the island. But when Andana said that she was left behind, I wasn't sure if it was just because they were like running away, or because they were like maybe fighting against the Venin and she just went behind.
Well, no, it's an egg.
Well, I mean, that's why she went behind, because
she
can move.
No, I mean, the way that she says that is that she was left behind on purpose, so that she could be exactly where she needed to be. Because there's definitely a way that Andana can see the future, or she knows what's going to happen, or she knows what needs to happen, because she is exactly where she needs to be all the time. And how would she be able to do that if she didn't know what was coming? And it kind of suggests that she has been able to do that before she was even hatched.
Well, apparently she knew everything that was going on when she was inside the egg.
Yeah, she heard them talking, didn't she? So, yeah, I can see that Xaden's mom could be on the Isle Kingdoms. I can definitely see that happening, but I'm now convinced that she's Queen Mariah. So. Anyway, right, so back to the books. Study of winged creatures. That's clearly in there because it doesn't just cover dragons and griffins. It obviously must have some mention of wyvern in there.
Yes.
That's why they're hiding it.
While they're looking for more books, Imogen is talking to Aaric, and one thing that she says to him is, "Do you know there's no rider has ever been named King?" And we should reply, that's not entirely true. Who is he referring? A king that was a rider?
It was only, I don't know. And again, maybe that could be related to the Isle Kingdom.
I think it has to be related to, I don't know, before unification, because there's kind of like a rule that somebody that's like with a lot of politics or power can't be a rider, because it will be like too much power on both sides. So a king, there's a rider as well. It could be really dangerous if I had like a really big dragon, or if I really powerful signet. So what kind of king will be this?
Maybe, but I don't think it's. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that a king would be a rider. It's a bad thing to the current king who isn't a rider. He doesn't want anyone in like a royal seat that could overthrow him.
Yeah, but the king has all the rider to his disposition to fight for him or for his kingdom.
In a few chapters, he's not going to have all of them, is he?
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite dangerous for a king not to be a rider, or with the king channel on the ground in another way. Anyway,
just because give me a little bit the vibes from this Aragon. Do you know the this king that was like a dragon rider as well, and he was like really powerful, and he started to kill everyone because he wants to be like the only one with that much power.
Yeah.
But
who makes the law if it's not the king? And then you can just be like, because it's not a government, is it? He does have a government, actually, because Xaden mentions it. The reason I find it a bit suspicious, and that I think it could be related to the Isle kingdoms, is that we know that there are kingdoms. So there's kings or queens, and there is just so many name drops of the Isle kingdoms in this. And the fact that she says it's not entirely true that there's never been a king with a dragon just links up for me that it could be that there's a king on the Isle kingdoms that has a dragon, potentially a 7th gen dragon.
We will know until our next assignment comes.
Yeah, but you're true. You're right. It could be history. It could be this ancient king that we hear so much about.
Yeah, king that has to be killed by the Dark Wielder. He was.
Yeah, there's journals of every commanding general of all armies since the unification. And I suspect the reason they're there is because they all know about the Venin and they write about it. So if Milgren had a journal, he would probably have lots of classified stuff in there. So I'd imagine that's why they're there. Because I like thinking not just about what the books could have in them, but why they would be down in the secret vault. Violet says it's an exercise in self-control not to open every book and devour its contents. You know, I'd probably just be like, I'm going to stay the night. I'll leave in the morning when the archive is opened again. I'll just sit on this couch. I'm just going to read. Right. The next two are the most interesting for me.
Well,
Mythology of the gods. Right, so we know that Navarre has gods. We've got Zanal, the god of luck. We've got June, the goddess of war. We have got Amari, the queen of the gods. We've got Malak. We know that that is open. Why is that book classified? Why is it so secret that it needs to be in the king's vault? Is it because it's true?
I can't say anything about it. You know what is my position about thinking about the gods just physically intervene in this story? Because I'm not looking for that, but it's really suspicious why they would be there.
Because we know that gods are a thing in this world, so...
Yeah, they always mention about it, they pay tribute to their gods and all that kind of stuff, so what could it be there?
What's in the mythology that the leadership don't want?
Well, we're talking about is the king's collection, so not everything there will be prohibited. It will be just like rare collections, there's in no one else.
Not necessarily. Why would that not be in Chaldea? The fact that it's
I think it's because that's the most... it's the king's secret vault, so it's like when you had your money, you have it in the bank. You don't want to have
it. You don't just have a random book in there. If you have a random book that doesn't really... If you're
no, it has to be valuable. That has to be, regardless of the information. But
that it's trying to be hidden from general circulation. These books are hundreds of years old. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's it as well. That the safest place for these books so they don't disintegrate is where there's a load of scribes that can look after them. Yeah, I get it. But, right, the next one. The earliest tome I've ever seen on mining practices. That has got to be about the Mari family, right?
Well, so far we know that they are the ones with, like, have a vast knowledge about mining.
When I mean it's got to be about them, I don't mean it's got to be about them because it's the oldest tome we've ever seen and we don't know how far the Mari family goes back. But it's got to be related to what we think Daddy Mari was doing. We know, a couple of things we know, that at Riorson there was a chest of explosives that had the Mari family crest on. So why would the Maris be having a crest on a box of, like a formal box of explosives, if they weren't in the mining industry? Like, that has to be surely what's going on. There's a mine there. We also know as Violet is crossing the parapet in Fourth Wing, the first book, she talks about Poromil having crystals that are magic. We suspect that that is what is being mined by the Mari family, right?
Yes.
So the earliest tome I've ever seen on mining practices it makes me feel like people have been mining magic for years, and these crystals, like runes, are kind of the great equalizer. And if you've got magic crystals, you can do stuff with magic that potentially a rider could do, and they're trying to quash this information because they don't want everyone, like the average Joe, to get hold of these crystals. But there was clearly a mine in Riorson, and that which is on the border of Poromil and Tyrrendor, just at the bottom of the cliffs, isn't it? Up in Navarre. And we said before that we believe that potentially Daddy Mari was supplying Poromil with these crystals, and that is potentially why he was killed as well as Mommy Mari. But yeah, I'm desperate to know a bit more about Liam and Sloane's parents, because I do think they're incredibly intelligent and obviously part of the resistance. There's a big thing about Violet not knowing that Liam's dad was also killed, because they didn't just kill the spouses, they didn't kill the children, they just killed the rebels, but they came and killed him. So I think that shows that he was up to something as well. And because of the mine, because of the box of explosives that had the family crest on, my theory is that he was supplying the drifts with these crystals that were being mined.
That's something that Violet was surprised when Leah said his dad was killed as well. Because she said, no, that can't be, because I read all about it. And
that's not written down.
Exactly. So it's like two things that make you think that maybe they kill every single parent, regardless if they were involved or not, just because they were like disposed. That's kind of like what they're trying to make you believe.
But they didn't, because there's a baby born.
Yeah.
They didn't kill her. They didn't kill the mother.
Now that you mention it, it's just like, no, it's like he specifically was targeted.
It's to do with that mining. It's got to be because of the crest. You don't just have a box of explosives lying around, do you? Unless that's got your own crest on it. I mean, if you're a rebel, you might have a box of explosives. But you don't put your family name on it, do you? It's like property of Mr. Mari.
Yeah. No, that's basically a company.
It's a company.
Like the brand.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that has to be that.
Please return to Mr. and Mrs. Mari of Mari Lane. It's kind of a surefire way of getting caught, isn't it? Right, we get more mention of some books. The Tyrrish history. We've talked about that one already. How they might come back when they're king and queen of Tyrrendor. There's a lot more journals. And then one that was weird. I pull a promising cracked spine tome, but it's a fucking weather almanac.
Yeah, why?
Well, she's a lightning wielder. Don't suppose it's anything to do with that, is it? Because a weather almanac is just like a record of the weather for a particular year, isn't it?
Yes. So why is prohibited, or why should be there in the King's collection? Yeah.
But we know that she's a lightning wielder, so is there something... Is it one of those years, like the year where they vanquished the Venin, and they got some scribe writing down the weather, and they're like, a lightning strike, another one. No!
It's just like too random and weird.
It is weird and random, but weather is in italics, and I know that that's because you're like, it's a weather, it's like a sarcastic way of saying something, but also, like, she's literally a lightning wielder, so it might be something.
Yeah.
Right, so we get a bit of an interaction between Imogen and Aaric, where we find out that it's not all the marked ones that Aaric hates, it's just Xaden, because Xaden killed his brother. He says that why on earth would I hate you? Because you're trying to lead a righteous rebellion and your parents did that. I'm here. I know what you're trying to fight against. And he's very clever. Anyway, he talks about how he clearly guesses they're trying to work out the wards because of the stuff that Violet is muttering. And he says, where is it? Drathus. That's the most logical choice, close to both the Navarian border and the sea. He doesn't get Erasure, he doesn't connect the dots, but I wonder if we will end up in Drathus at some point. And whether that's where Rhiannon will die. I know that sounds really random and I've just plonked that in there, but she does say, history will be the death of me. I can never remember, or I can't remember what happens in that narrow strip of land between Somerton and Drathus, it will be the death of me, or something like that. So I just feel like
there must be something there, yeah.
But yeah, another mention of the sea, which is obviously close to where you get to the Isle Kingdoms. It's all very suspicious, isn't it?
Yes, everything I pointed to the Isle Kingdoms. So definitely it's going to be Onyx's our next destination.
Yeah. But they find the books in this centre console with the tablecloth over the top. They think it's glass, but it's not. So when
another ward.
Yeah. Would only King Tari be able to get through that then, do you think?
Yes. I think that is the only explanation, because not even Aaric, there was a prince, this King Tari's son, was able to retrieve the books without being harmed.
Again, I just wonder if Nadine could have unweaved them. So they get the book and they only have 2 minutes to get out. This will be really good in the TV series, won't it? This whole scene. Yeah, Nasya's unconscious because Zoya took him out. So they're running.
Yes.
I find this all a little bit odd. I do not know what really happens. So they're running so fast, and the door is closing. They meet up with their friends, Rihanna and Sawyer. Why didn't Rihanna and Sawyer and everyone just get out anyway? Maybe they did.
I think they're waiting from the entrance. So they're just like, come on, the door is closing, run. And while they're running, trying to give the books to Xaden, okay, come on, you can run faster. Just take the books.
He slows down. This is what I don't get. Xaden's faster. He slows down because he says, if you stay, I stay. We die together.
Well, he's running out of Violet space, basically.
Yeah, but then she goes through, and it says Xaden and Aaric won't make it. But they were just
Xaden is holding the doors.
With the shadow.
With the shadows. So the door is closing, as I understand. The Xaden use the shadows, and then the shadows is holding the door. So Violet, she can manage to go through. Imogen is running too, so I'm guessing that she just go through as well. But Xaden is there holding the door. And she said that he and Aaric is not going to make it.
And then it's over. But it's not over, because the next chapter, they just yank him through they yank Aaric through the door.
Yeah. The weird thing for me is that in this end, there's no mention now about Aaric at all. So they're just running. You just assume they are all close together, that he's just behind. But then why then Violet says they won't make it? Like, Xaden is just standing there holding the gate, and there's no mention about Aaric is running, Aaric is coming, Aaric is there.
They're not going to make it.
Yes.
But then they do make it. Yeah, it's weird. Chapter 34.
Yeah, so chapter 34 is just the continuation, and this is where we're talking.
Yeah, but the epigraph first.
Okay.
My last words with my father before the Battle of Erasure were spoken in anger, because he was sending me away for my own safety. I'm not sure I'll ever forgive myself for that, but I like to think he forgives me.
Obviously, if in Riorson knew there was a big possibility that they won't make it, so he wanted to make sure that Xaden will be safe, they will be still alive.
Do you think at that point he sent him to the Duke?
Yeah. Then maybe send it to what's the name? Duke Lindell. Yes. But he need to be out of the place, because he can't risk it, and he's going to be captured anyway.
Yeah, I also think with this one, it feels a bit odd, because he's forever leaving Violet with, angry words. You'd think he would have learnt from this, and he felt so guilty. At any moment, anything could happen. But he's always having a hissy fit and leaving Violet when he's angry.
And it's not only for one day, it's like for a full week. That's been happened before. They just live angry, and they don't see each other until next week.
7 days. It's even 7 days, and we'll fight again. Right, so they're out, and they kind of take the robes off. Justinia takes the laundry.
Aaric, because his hand has blisters everywhere, because he grabbed the journals and the walls like burning him.
Yeah.
Plus, when she pulls Violet out of the place, the hair sticky. So obviously, she popped the blisters.
Gross. But Bodhi said that's a rebound burn. It'll clear up overnight if treated. How does Bodhi know so much?
Yeah, you have to clear it overnight if it's treated, because it's still blistered. It's just skin like popping out of the flesh. And how can get healed next day?
Magic creams. Anyway, I'm not worried about that. I'm more concerned about how Bodhi knows this. I know they learn stuff, but every time a character says something, I'm like, how do they know that? How do they know that? Where did they learn that? Has he tried to breach a ward before? Or is he just clever? Is he just a clever clogs?
Maybe he paying attention in the class when they're talking about
so
wards
boring.
and stuff.
Yeah, because they do learn about wards in the 3rd year, don't they?
Yes.
All right.
But anyway, they a little bit change of plans because of this. So Violet says to Rita, take Aaric to your room. And then...
Cadet life debt.
Yes. So now is when Violet's going to call the favor. So she used Reed to do this. They start to just leave everyone like, okay, we just follow the plan. We need to go by and act normal. Xaden asked the Queen how it was for her when she was pretending that everyone is still in the place.
In Imogen's room, getting
Yes, so she said that she projected herself and the commons, making clear the all were in Reed's bedroom. Later on, she did as a Violet and Reed, and Violet mouse drops. Like, what? She can do that? And Queen said, yeah, her signet is stronger because I think the name of the dragon is Kruth.
Kruth was my great aunt's dragon.
Yes, so she doesn't have to worry about getting mad as if she was a directly descendant. But this is the interesting part for me as well. She glances to Imogen and says, I still can't quite get the right shade of pink of your hair. Is it something special about that pink hair that she has? There's a reason that she can't get it quite right.
Yeah. So I was having a chat with somebody on Instagram the other day, and they were like really suspicious of Imogen. And it's like she's desperately trying to hide stuff. Is desperate to hide who she really is. And the pink hair could be something like that.
Like creating a new identity or just having like a mask.
Perhaps has she got the same grey ends as Violet? She's covering it up. Because Mira says you should dye your hair or cut it. Because it's so obvious it's you. Yeah, perhaps Imogen. We know Suri does. We know Suri has like a streak of grey hair. So yeah, does Imogen. And she's just trying to hide it. Or is Imogen possibly related to somebody? I think this is where the conversation came from. Could Imogen be the daughter of somebody who is... I know that her surname's Cardulo, but could she have been adopted by somebody? I don't know. And she's trying to hide her identity.
It makes sense because she's pretty much like the only character that is coming like with these features. A part of Nadine, I think, that she in some point...
Heaton has purple flames in
Purple,
their hair,
yeah.
So she says, my signet is... This is Quinn. Her signet is stronger because Kruth was bonded to her great aunt's dragon. But she's not a direct descendant, so don't have to worry about going mad. Does she have a second signet? Or do you only get a second signet? She clearly doesn't know about that because she doesn't say it. It's Sloane that says it later, isn't it? Because we suspect that Liam...
I think the reason that you get mad is because you get a second signet. So because she is no descendant from directly related, the signet gets stronger. But I don't think you will get a second signet because I think that was like the specific reason.
You will go mad or get a second signet. You don't get both. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So she can't. I agree. There's something sus about the pink hair. Bodhi says it was blissfully uneventful for him, but clearly Xaden was in a rage. So Imogen had quite a hard time. So they're out. Violet says you need to take this book now. You need to get it to Brennan. I'm not sure why she thinks that Brennan can speak Old Lucerish when he can't. Dad never taught him that. Dad only taught him Tirish, which is weird.
It's just weird. I think she was just assuming that because that told her that it would be the same for everyone. I think that was just like given to every single child, like a tool for maybe later on it will be useful.
Yeah, and Mommy Sorrengail even says later on, your dad was sure to teach you everything you would need to know, or at least where to find it, where to look. So yeah, it's a bit strange that she thinks that Brennan can speak Old Lucerish when he can't. So she starts to read a little bit of the extract, and it says, after we placed the last rune, we placed the wardstone where the dragons felt the deepest currents of magic run. That again makes me think of mining. There's magic in the ground, they're mining it. I translate slowly to Xaden, then I glance up. I might be off a word or two, but it's here. And that's obviously just foreshadowing how she is off a word or two when she says, at the birth of an iron rain. So she is off at least one word in that sentence, but it takes her a good couple of months to figure it out. Xaden goes,
Nola finds Violet.
But just before Nolan arrives, she says, for the first time in months, it's hope coursing through my veins instead of dread. And then Nolan arrives, and it just makes me think back to Fourth Wing when Xaden says, hope. She says, it's the hope that's bad in this place because you think you start to hope, you start to believe you're going to survive. And then he said, stop focusing on hope. I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, hope is bad. Hope makes you focus on the possibilities, not the probabilities. And so she's got hope. She's hopeful in this moment. She's thinking of the possibilities. She's not suspecting Nolan at all. She drinks the lemonade. She still doesn't recognize the taste. It's familiar, but she doesn't instantly connect the two and two together because she's thinking about possibilities. She's not thinking about probabilities.
Yeah, because she was thirsty after the big run, and that dream from Nolan, I think, came like just in the right time. So she went into that.
Yeah. So he looks so damn tired, like he's come from a major session or 12. Is this still Jack? As Jack walks through the quadrant, and he seems fine. He just nods at Violet, which is odd anyway, but she nods back. Or is he mending more venom? Is he mending more souls? Why is he still tired if he's fixed Jack? Maybe
I think maybe it's more and more people start to realize what's going on, and maybe Varrish is interrogating, and he's like, breaking, mending.
Yeah, it is. It must be related to Varrish.
Yeah.
But why is Nolan doing what Varrish wants him to do? He genuinely... I do get the feeling here that he genuinely does believe he's doing the right thing, Nolan, even though he isn't.
Well, Varrish is a mayor, so if he commands that he need to do that, he has to, regardless if I disagree or not.
Yeah, and he's after Xaden. He's not just after Violet. And that's clear because Varrish is after Xaden.
Yeah.
And he says, where is he? And Violet says, everything's fine. Xaden left earlier. We don't always get along. It's not a lie, but she's not entirely truthful in that moment, is she? Because they were getting along and he left.
But then she realized what's going on, and then she can't believe it because of the way she put her life on Nola's hands so many times for so many years that she no, can't believe. And Nolan is just staring at the cream bag that she's carrying, and that's the thing that give it away. Yeah. And then when she's falling on the floor, she sees Varrish coming, and he is just like, why, Sorrengail? What have you gotten yourself?
Oh, he is an awful, awful man. He is the Professor Umbridge of Basgareth.
What?
Oh, I love to hate him.
This breaks bones. Literally.
Yeah, she would if she could get away with it. Oh, he makes my blood boil.
Move on. Chapter 35.
Yeah.
Epigraph.
Yeah. Here we go. The only signet more terrifying than an intrinsic is a truth-sayer, and yet we let them live. Major Offender's Guide to the Riders Quadrant, unauthorized edition. Right, I could speak for an hour on this. Rebecca Yarros says that Violet's second signet is named and is obvious in Iron Flame to anyone who's read it.
Yeah.
The only one that I think is named, new, and obvious is a truthsayer. Obviously, there's theory that she's intrinsic. I think that is just like I get it. It makes sense. It's what she needs. But I'd be so disappointed if it's just the same as what Xaden's got. If it is intrinsic, I hope it's bloody different to like intentions. It's got to be significantly more different. Otherwise, I'll just be like, it's done. Although I won't be, and I'll still love the book.
Well, you think that maybe she could be like Nora?
I don't think Nora is a truthsayer. I think Nora is a lie detector. I think she's just, and actually she's more than a lie detector because she knows that Violet is triggered by something. It's like basically she can sense the stress and the pressure.
Sherlock Holmes and the steroids.
I think she can sense the sweat or the like twitching or I think so. It's like it has to do with your bodily function. I don't think she's a truthsayer, and I don't know. I need to find out. I don't know that she's ever actually called a truthsayer. I think Violet does actually at one point refer to her as a truthsayer. But I think Violet's second signet is more than this. I think it's that you physically cannot answer her questions untruthfully. I think if she asks you, I think it's going to be more of she asks you a question, you've got to answer it. But I just want to think a little bit about, aside from the second signet, because obviously there is a new signet that's named, and that's the distance wielder, and a lot of people think that she's a distance wielder. I just don't see the obvious time where that happens. I know that some people think it's later in the book where she's all of a sudden next to Xaden, but I actually think the maths checks out that he's there every 6 days. And it might be that she's not a truthsayer, but this epigraph for me, what would be the most apt second signet for someone whose partner is an intrinsic and she just has to be a bit more terrifying than him? Like, he's got shadows, she's got light, he's got intrinsic, she's got truthsayer.
Yeah, I think exactly the same. Because, you know, in the beginning where I didn't know like which dragon she will get, I thought she might get a blue one as well. So she's kind of like saying as Xaden. Well, then when Taryn appeared for the first time, like, oh my god, it's even better than the blue one. So I think the second signet is going to be like something
a bit more powerful than...
Yes, there's something as well that's like unique, but better.
But why, can we try and work out why it's more terrifying than an intrinsic? I get that, so Navarre... Obviously, Major Offrender must have known about the Venin and known about all the secrets and the lies. So to him, a truthsayer whose information gets out, that is quite terrifying for Navarre, isn't it? If you've got a truthsayer. But an intrinsic does the same thing.
I think it's more terrifying because if you remember in Fort Wayne, when there was a cadet that he just turned into intense and he couldn't control it. So he was like hearing...
Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah. He was listening to the thoughts to everyone there. What was the first thing that Satan did? Start to recite something that you know and just think about it. So you can like fool it. So if he's trying to read your memory or whatever, you just focus on something and he's not going to get any information from you. A truthsayer, if I comes to you, if I like what we think, ask you something, well, you can't do anything and you can't follow, you just reply.
But the truthsayer that we see here, and that's why I can't see it. The type of truthsayer that we hope that Violet is, that's quite terrifying for basically a continent or a kingdom built on lies. But it's not that terrifying if it's just Nora. Nora can just see you sweat a bit.
Yeah, I think there was a time when she said the Messina can like detect lies. She never mentioned herself as I am a truthsayer.
Because all she'd do is like, but Violet calls her a truthsayer later. She said she's but
that would be like something to, as a writer, maybe to just like, that's a truthsayer. But actually, literally it's not being saying.
She's definitely not terrifying because all she can do is say she's lying.
She's lying. She's not.
Lying. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm not. And then she can't get the truth out of them, can she?
No.
So
she only knows when it's lying. That's it.
Yeah, but it's got to be more than that if it is truthsayer. So anyway.
The chapter starts with two girls looking at Violet. She's just like trying to go back to like figure out what was going on. But she can hear this conversation. These two girls are like talking, saying that that's not our concern. Well, if she find out, it will.
Yeah, they're worried about.
She's in Cauldron, so we have a week until she returns. So they were obviously talking about.
She there for a week, like training.
I don't know if it's something normal, but...
Well, Violet used to spend a lot of time in Calder, so yeah, it must be normal.
The other thing that caught my attention is because name is chapter. Mommy Sorrengail said that Marhan is in Calder as well. So I was like, okay, they went together, or...
Yeah, and how long has he
they
been
went
there?
after. How he found out that was going on in the chamber, because he got like the alarm was triggered. He knew.
Yeah, his he got a text message when
how it happened. They had like a nap. Like had that ring. He was just checking the camera.
Ring camera. Yeah, I wondered the same, or I wondered if Markham had gone out there to tell him.
Yeah, that's for me like only explanation. After they go Violet and
also it must take him ages because he can't fly on a dragon.
Yeah, it has to be in a horse, isn't it?
Horse and cart. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just weird, but oh well.
And you do get, I think, a bit of reluctance from Nora here, don't you? There's a couple of things where she says, obviously, not feeling comfortable about the situation, and I question her motives. Like as a human lie detector, we'll call her.
Mm-hmm.
She's hanging around Varrish. Why?
Yeah, I think that's part of the kid, because Varrish is the specialist in interrogations. So when he's breaking somebody's bones and asking for questioning, this person is telling something between the screen, then she will say, yeah, it's telling the truth. Or, no, keep breaking more bones.
Yeah, but she's his aide, and like you get the feeling that they're like, she likes him and they get on. Mm-hmm. Until this point, you feel like she wants to be doing what she's doing and she's enjoying it, but she's working for a liar.
Mm.
So wouldn't you think that would like trigger you all the time? How do they keep her under control?
No, really, Varrish trusts her.
And she trusts Varrish. But how? She's a lie detector.
She knows maybe all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah, maybe they brought her into the fold.
Yes, because Mommy Sorrengail is playing this too, and in this chapter as well. Depend on the people. When they're going up the ranks, they bring it into the lie as well. Lieutenant. She's a lieutenant, but the signet is like really useful.
Violet wakes up in the cell, and Varrish comes in, but before he does, she catches a glimpse of the table with her black hilted daggers on, the runed daggers. Mm-hmm. So this for me was like a big alert. And you know how since a comment on our Instagram, we have been on the lookout for any times that these daggers are around and something suspicious happens that could be as a result of the rune. And the first one for me was like the strength that she has to get through this. The second one potentially is our friend, and that's hard to talk about him, but he comes back. The second thought was, is there something to do with that and the daggers? I don't think so, because I do think Rebecca Yarros has confirmed that Liam is a hallucination and definitely not signet, because she's on the signet blocking elixir. But yeah, let's just, as we go through this, think about those daggers there and what they could potentially be doing.
Yeah, I don't know if she needs to be like touching these runes to this to work, or if I just like having a certain distance, the runes will be like activate.
Yeah, I don't know. I just assume they have to be close by, because she's not touching. If they're in the sheets, but she's protected from cat.
It could be that it has to be close for her to this to work.
Why were they mentioned if they're not doing something?
Could be that another option. There's a room for what to give you like a strength and the most difficult part, so just to keep the brain active when the body is being broken.
Maybe and that's Xaden says that, doesn't he? He says, remember They can break you, but they will never break you. Should we talk about what a liability Nolan is to Varrish? He's getting so annoyed with Nolan. Nolan thinks this is where I had a few examples of where Nolan thinks he's doing the right thing, because he's saying you're putting all of our citizens at risk. He genuinely believes he's doing the right thing, and that's possibly because his dragon believes that he's doing the right thing. So he's on the side of his dragon, because we know later that the dragon will only share the memory of Riorson if they want to share it. If they don't, they won't. And
the decision had been done for them.
Yeah, you can't choose. Or you would have to leave your dragon behind. So he's like, right, let's start with why you stole Lyra's journal. And I'm not sure if I can find... Hang on. Yeah, okay. So Nolan says, Violet, please just explain. Was it an unsanctioned squad challenge? Some kind of dare between second years? They're still trying to ascertain exactly what's missing. Help us, tell us, and this will go much easier for you. And then she's like, wait, what? You still don't know what's been stolen? How can you be sure that this is the journal if you can't even verify what's been stolen? And then she starts to guess that they can't get in because they haven't dared to tell the king that something's been stolen yet. So it's all like he's a total liability. No wonder Nolan isn't an interrogator.
Well, yeah, it's because he basically gave us some hint like, okay, they didn't get my friends, so that's like something good to know. They're not breaking them as well. Plus, they don't know exactly why it's missing either, so... There was like a lot of information there for her. Was like, okay, now I can keep quiet because they know nothing.
Yeah, and he even's like, she says, how can you assume that book isn't a reproduction if you haven't verified the original is even missing? I asked Nolan, and then Nolan Nolan glances at Varrish. He's like, oh my god, she's right. And then Markham said the coverlet wasn't disturbed. He's giving her information about the crime scene.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm glad he's doing it because it's helping our girl out, but like, no wonder Varrish is annoyed with him.
Yeah, and the end is just, no, just dismiss.
Yeah, just
I will call you. Yeah.
If you want a job doing, you can do
I will call you when it's needed.
There's a cool thing here where she says, I assume that no one is volunteering to tell the king that there's been an alarm, false or otherwise. And we don't know why Markham is with the king. But I think what Markham is probably doing is he's saying, the wards were triggered, we don't know why, nothing's been stolen, everything's fine, don't worry about it. Because later we know that Lilith has the journal. She has Lyra's journal. That would have been put back if they'd have told the king. Like, why was it not put back?
Well, they can't. The word's still there, so I don't know if they can just drop it.
Throw it in. No, yeah, they can't get it back in. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it has to be the king himself. And
they're not going to tell the king.
Yeah. You know that even from the beginning, all of this is like, you can tell how dodgy is everything, because General Sorrengail is like the head of Asgard. If something had been missing in the archive, it's her responsibility. She should know everything was going on. And they didn't want to tell her anything because it was like, well, she's not coming back until like a week. So we had like a week to find out what's going on. When I'm pretty sure that if something like this in real life, when the army happens, they will go straight away to call the directly responsible, whatever it is. Send them a letter, send somebody like a writer, go tell it to General Sorrengail that somebody has been in the royal chamber or whatever. And
by the way, it's your daughter.
Yeah. P.S.
No, they're doing it because they know that she'll stop the interrogation. But she said, please let me remind you, the last time someone accused me of lying without proof, they found themselves assigned to the farthest outpost Luceras can offer. Ah, you mean Atos. He doesn't even flinch. No worries. I'll ferret out the evidence he needs while I have you here under my supervision. So he's doing this for Atos. He's obviously working for Atos.
Yeah.
is really odd to me, this, because we know Atos sent assassins. Did he really want them to assassinate Violet, or was he just sending them for Aya on the top of that turret? Because why would he want Violet to be killed by those assassins, but then he still needs the information on the rebellion?
Well, he tried to kill her in the mud as well. I think she was maybe like one of the first ones. So obviously he wants to kill Violet.
But Varrish doesn't. Varrish is like, keep her alive. She's going to tell me this.
I think there's no communication between those two. So it's Colonel Atos sending people to kill Violet, and Varrish is doing his own thing as well. You know, the big prize is Xaden. Xaden is the one who has like the key for everything. Yeah. And Violet is the tool to get it.
Yeah, this is why I am so convinced that there's something went down with Naylan and Brennan in the interrogation chamber. And I feel like that's the clue. He tortures one person to get to another. Right, then Varrish says, Nora, order an immediate formation and check the hands of every cadet in the quadrant. But it's already Sunday. If properly treated, the hands will heal overnight. So we get from that
by the time they check Aaric's hand, he will be fine.
Yeah, Cadet Life Debt came in clutch and treated his hands. Yeah. Because we found out that they couldn't find any evidence of anyone.
Yes.
This torture scene makes me feel really sick. It's hard for me to read it until Liam gets there. I cry out when he dislocates the first finger, then scream when he breaks it. Gross.
Yeah, starting little by little. But then after she's been a couple of days having this torture is when she starts to see Liam. So Liam is back. And this is the thing that I don't get it. Like from internet, when you see so many people talking about Violet's second signet, people say that, yeah, she can talk to dead people, or she can... Yeah, when she is powerless at this point. She took this elixir. She had no connection with the dragon. She had no power.
I love it, and I would love it if it was true. Like, I do. Because I love hearing other people's theories. And wouldn't it be great if she could speak to Daddy Sorrengail? If she could speak to Naylan, if he is in fact dead.
Yeah.
She could speak to...
Leanne every single time she wants.
I'd love it. I really, really would. I just don't see how it could be true.
Well, two things. First, she drank the elixir, so she had no power. So, I got no signet. And second, Rebecca Yarros publicly has said exactly the same. Yeah. She had no power there, so there's no signet.
His selfish hallucination, apparently. I had thought for a while that it had something to do with his wooden carvings. I really think that there's something to do with his wooden carvings. But she said, you're not really here, you're a hallucination from pain and dehydration, a mirage. Maybe, Liam says, and I open my eyes just enough to see him sit on the floor beside me. He pulls his knees up, resting his elbow on the side of the bunk just beneath my fractured arm. Or maybe Malak sent me as a kindness. Malak again.
Yeah, but she said Malak has no kindness with anybody.
She doesn't know. Right, so my theory is that Naylan is Malak. Naylan became Malak. He knocked him off his throne. He became a god when he resurrected Brennan. Naylan has been in this same situation. He has been in the interrogation chamber with Varrish. He knows what it's like. That's why Ten took Solus's eye out. Naylan has sent a vision, a hallucination
Liam's
of
soul
Liam
to his former sister-in-law
to get her through it. To the rider of his bonded dragon.
Well, it's Brennan's sisters as well. So.
Yeah, or maybe Malak sent me, and I just think Naylan knocked Malak off his throne. And I know it's bonkers, I know it's crazy, and it probably isn't what happens. But all the mentions of Malak come in a situation where Naylan could have been interested or linked somehow. Just hope that's true.
I don't know. I don't see like that happening in this storyline. I mean, I can't obviously say 100% no, because in the end it's just Rebecca Yarros, the one who is playing.
Arranged. Fair enough.
Yeah. I think that it's just the fact that just because, he was able to resurrect Brennan, make you a god. That's what Kaori says, but Kaori is just
a bit unreliable. He leaves his book lying around first years.
Yeah, like first thing first, can we actually confirm that Brennan actually died? Or he was just like nearly dying, because obviously it was just Nolan the one who was there. So Brennan was maybe dying and he was doing something to heal her, or I don't know if he was able with the Sephirine power, grab his mending power and then just heal Brennan. And then because he was so bad, he started to channeling, or he burned out. He went to the maximum, healing Brennan, and then Nolan died next to Brennan. So Brennan, he wake up and Nolan was dead. But Brennan don't say any mention about the body or anything.
Yeah, that's like a situation.
No, he said that I think he wake up in the caves, or so I don't know how he got that. We'll see.
Malik doesn't do kindness, nor does he allow souls to wander about. I'm not wandering, Violet. I'm exactly where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Who else says that?
Darna.
And Anna. Why?
Is it possible that maybe she's dreaming that Violet is suffering that much, and then in the dream... No, but it can't, because it's the dreamless sleep, isn't it? Yeah. What they call Well...
The next thing I wanted to say was that Devera and Materia were asking where she is. And they're the two professors that end up being so good.
Yes, so that's how she found out that it's Monday. The people start to wonder about them. Mm-hmm. And they start to like give some ideas about, okay, what we're gonna do. Maybe we should bring the squad and talk to them in front of her, so maybe she will speak. And Varrish were like, no, she didn't do it when they had the calls before, so they're going to do it now. And more days have passed.
Yeah, but we find out that Xaden is the real target.
Yeah, so he's trying to trigger her, telling her that it's gonna be Xaden's turn. So when he found out, he's expecting that Xaden will try to rescue her, and he will be like just waiting for him.
Yeah, but it's a bit annoying here where she's like, he won't come, Xaden's priorities have always been clear. It's a bit annoying, isn't it?
I think he's always been clear. There's always Violet's priority.
I know.
She's the only one who just don't get it in the first one. The one he was saying, oh, he's gonna kill me now. Like halfway for when he'd been always saving her.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, the revolution is the most important thing for him.
Yeah.
He literally says, I will be happily see Aaric burning if I keep you alive.
Yeah.
Mm.
And not many people speak Old Lucerish, but Varrish does. He's just sat there casually reading the journal, and he knows from this that she's trying to ward something. It's a good job he's dead, isn't it? Because he knows. So he reads Old Lucerish.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all it says in there? Is that the only thing that it says in there is how to read, how to do the ward, how to make the wards? Because he's got Lyra's journal. That's the right one. That's the one that says the 7 combined. So he knows at this point then that there's a 7th den, right?
Yeah.
We suspect he already knew anyway. But it's a good job he's dead.
I don't know, because really this is the Lyra's journal. So I was wondering what other things it will be there, because she might have been mentioned everything that happened with the first 6, with General Daramore, with the Wardstone, how they managed to eradicate all the Venin.
It can only cover so much because you run out of paper eventually. So maybe, like, there must be loads of journals, but that's the important one that needs to be warded, because that's the one that tells people how to create wards.
Mm-hmm.
But why it's being kept a secret when there's no other 7th Den dragon, to me is a bit bonkers. So there must be more.
Even if they know how to do it, they wouldn't have all the dragons.
Yeah. So there must be. And I wonder if it's
the Isle Kingdoms.
Yeah, it's hiding it. Anyway, we find out now about Varrish's signet. It's awful.
Yes, he can see weaknesses.
Yeah, but it sounds like he physically sees the weakness. So it's a great advantage in battle. Honestly, you surprised me when we met. From everything I'd heard about the youngest Sorrengail, I expected to look at you and see pain, broken bones, or maybe shame for never living up to Mum's expectations. But like to look at her physically and see pain and broken bone, like it must. If you're not a bad person, that must be quite a hard.
I don't know if he can like distinguish about what he see because he's signet and what he see because reality. So I don't know if maybe he see like a different color. That's kind of like what I imagine. That maybe he sees you and it's like yourself, or maybe a different color, and you are like in pain, or you have like a broken bones, or you have something, or you had a picture of somebody that you care or something. They're like telling him.
Or maybe he just like, it's kind of like a type of intrinsic where he just reads that and he knows.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, that signet though, because your weakness is is such a big vulnerability.
Yeah. And he saw Xaden's weakness, at least for one specific moment. I think it's that moment where he touched the shadow. When he was like protecting Violet. They were like interesting. That I think he could burn or something. So I think that moment when he saw was the Xaden weaknesses and it's clear it's Violet. But then it's by Thursday when I think maybe Varrish got with desperate measures and he calls support. And it's when he calls the wing leader Denatos, so he can use his signet to find out what's going on. That's why I think that it's not just about the rank, it's about the signet as well. There's some signets they will give you like that career.
Access to
because it's so useful. The leadership will keep you really close.
I wanted to know, like before we get to the Dane bit, so when I first read Iron Flame, I was convinced that Varrish could see Liam and he was having a conversation with him as well. Because I thought that it was to do with the fact that he could see weaknesses and he knows that Violet's weakness is the people that she loves. And she loved Liam. So he could see, they could all see it. But it's not, it's definitely not. But when you read some of these things, it sounds like they're all having a conversation together. So you're pinning your hopes that he'll break the rules for you, that he'll save you, since your own mother hasn't lifted a finger for you. My throat moves even though I'm too dehydrated to swallow. He won't wait until Saturday, Liam promises. That's what I'm counting on, Varrish nods. And it sounds like he's responding to he won't wait until Saturday. But he's actually just responding to himself. He's carrying on his own monologue that he'll save you since your own mother hasn't lifted a finger for you. That's what I'm counting on. So, and there's another thing. Liam, whatever Liam says, Varrish's response always makes sense, like he's having a response. But then if you take out Liam's line, it still makes sense. So, for the first time I read it, I was convinced that Varrish was talking to Liam.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really clever writing that bit because you just don't know until you really scrutinise it and then you think, hang on, he can't hear him.
Yeah.
It's all in Violet's head. Just before Dane arrives, she mentions the serum again because they've been giving it to her while she's been passed out, blocking her from Tern. Why is Tern not just absolutely losing his shit? Yeah, I know he's in the caves and he's tracking down Solus because he thinks if he can kill Solus, he'll kill Varrish. Why does he just smash the place up? He's a 25-foot plus dragon. Just go and smash the place up.
He doesn't know what she is. What he's going to do is start like breaking tower, breaking buildings, and then like, oh shit, Violet was under those pillars. Oops.
Yeah, but he'd absolutely lose his shit. He'd be telling all of the dragons like that he trusts, get your rider to go and get him.
Yeah, I think what happened was that Tern will notice immediately something's going on because
it's a bond.
he can't feel Violet at all. He must to like say to Sorrengail, I can't find Violet anywhere. She's missing. Something's going on. Tell to the shadow wielder or something. Or I don't even know if he can actually talk to Sorrengail so such a distance, but definitely Sorrengail would feel something's going on with her. Yes. Xaden somehow he knew because he straight away he started with a plan to go to rescue her, and the plan was find wyverns, catch wyverns, and then create a distraction.
Feels a bit
that's just
it's a lot of effort.
Yes, and the wyverns are normally bigger than Sorrengail, so how it's going to like carry all the stuff as well, and from one place to another one.
Shadows do everything.
Still.
So Dane comes, and his switch flips immediately, like a 180. So she says, I think you've been lied to for so long you won't recognise the truth even when it hits you in the face. And he says, I could say the same for you. But does he mean to say that Xaden's been lying there? I didn't really get that.
I guess it's just he thinks that Xaden is the one who's been lying all the time, and then Violet is just so deep into the lies that she doesn't recognize what's the truth.
I have just reread a line and figured out what's happened and why it was such a bad thing that Varrish read Lyra's diary.
Why?
I've had the journal sent back to the archives for safekeeping, but yes, the book she stole gave detailed instructions on how the wards were built and could be used as a map to unravel them. Who do you think told Jack how to bring the wards down?
So I think that Varrish in those days when she was prisoner told to Jack.
Told to somebody who told to Jack. He did say we can't trust Jack. He's unpredictable.
Yeah, but that was talking about torturing Violet without killing her.
Yeah.
So
something's happened, doesn't it? Because it says it could be used as a map to unravel them. And that's why it's not just the fact that those journals contain how to build the wards that means they're so classified. It actually contains a map of how to unravel them. And yeah, he 100% told Jack, or he told someone who told Jack.
We can say that maybe there's a difference between Jack and Varrish, because for Varrish it's like we need to protect the walls on, or we need to protect the walls on Avar, so we don't want the Venin to come here and attack us. But Jack, he wants to destroy the walls on. He knows how to.
How do we know Varrish doesn't want to? He's not just pretending.
I think it's because Varrish is the kind of, if it was a Venin, there's no confirmed. He was on the side of Colonel Athos. So I think Colonel Athos is the one who is creating, or who is the one who is manipulating this initiate of Venin. Because for me they're more like superhumans. So when they're like initiative on the Venin side, so they're more, maybe he can control it better. But if I say like a proper Venin, like the one out of the world, then there's nothing to do, because the power that they have would be
wild.
Yeah, they can channel all the power from the ground against him, so there's no control there.
Yeah, I don't know the difference. Yeah, I see how you think that there's a faction of Venin within and a faction of Venin without. I think that Panchek and Athos were behind the attack on Zolia. So I think this organised Venin are outside the wards already. I think they're at Zolia Academy. And it was Panchek and Athos that did that, and they're like organising a Venin army. So I don't necessarily think they're split. I think they're working together.
Yeah.
So I think Varrish is a Venin, was a Venin. He had found a way to control his own dragon, which is associated with Venin, and we know that because he says as much. He's also killed with a alloy-hilted dagger, and that is because Rebecca obviously didn't want a way of him coming back, and that for me comfort, because he wasn't dead. When Dane stabbed him, ages after that. He would have bled out, wouldn't he? Like, stabs him in the chest or something. Or in the stomach.
Yeah, it was in the stomach.
That would kill someone. Unless Dane was, like, really bad and didn't do a lethal blow. But it's odd to me. He wakes up after that and he kind of is not dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stab him with the alloy hilted dagger. But it doesn't matter if he is or isn't a Venin. He's such a bad guy. And maybe he isn't, because I keep drawing the distinction between him and Professor Umbridge. And there is always that kind of, the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters. You have bad people who aren't Death Eaters. You will have bad people who aren't Venin. But for me, everything points to the fact that he turned Venin, and he was kind of weakening his connection with Solus. So Dane touches her face, and he does it because Varrish is pushing on his weaknesses. And I'd for ages thought that Dane's weakness was Violet, but I was corrected the other day by someone that it's his pride. Xaden knows that in Fourth Wing when he hits him, like, don't touch her. And he says, we can't always help who we fall in love with, can we? Dane stiffens. And that's pushing on Dane's, like, pride and disappointment that Violet isn't in love with him, even though he couldn't break a rule for her.
Yeah.
Varrish starts to say things like, remember your ethics, especially given your attachment to Cadet Sorrengail. Search like you've been practicing, but focus on the word ward. He doesn't give a shit about ethics, quite clearly. The only reason he's saying this is because he doesn't want Dane to see more than the dagger smuggling. He doesn't want him to see the Venin. He doesn't want to see him.
Varrish's plan was just trying to see Violet's recent memory, what happened in the archives. So that way I just focus on ward. And because then he was just learning how to go more than just recent memories. But he saw everything happen in Riorson. There was month before all that, just because was Violet sharing with him, because Lian told him for his signet to work, he need to see what you're thinking right now, so he can just start to go through the memories. So show him what you want to show him.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Just before he does it, there's like a call for leadership. And Varrish says, what have you done, Violet? Orchestrated another attack on an outpost. When was the first one that she orchestrated?
Maybe he think the one that happens in Montserrat. I think that maybe it was Violet's fault.
Yeah, but we weren't supposed to know about that. That only comes... We knew about it in Fourth Wing, but obviously we get that in the Xaden POV chapter, which I don't want to talk about right now because I know a lot of the people who listen still haven't read. You don't find out who orchestrated that attack, but it feels a bit sus here. She says she hates Dane, and then he puts his hands on her face.
And then he starts to see absolutely everything that happens. The Wyvern, the Venin, Lian, dying. It's been my honor. Again.
Do you think that it's quite cool the way she does this? She doesn't have shields because she has the signet blocking elixir. But she mentally, like, she closes her eyes, she mentally feels him at the edge of her mind, and she grabs him with her mind and she pulls him into the memory. You get quite a physical description of what's going on in her head, and it just shows how much control she has of her own mind. And that, for me, makes me feel like she could probably block out an intrinsic.
For me, it was weird because you remember when they were discussing about Fourth Wing, when Xaden asked, did he touch you something? He was like, no, but I will notice, am I? And Xaden was like, no, you wouldn't. So now, this time that he's touching her, he sees him inside her mind.
Is he getting stronger?
So yeah, I don't know how it works now. It's because he's like giving the welcome, like she knows that he's coming. So okay, you want to come? Okay, come here, but now
and he
I'm
wants
take
her to tell her everything. He doesn't want to just find out about the wards because we already. So I don't know. I don't know where I am with Dane at this moment because before 2 pages before this, I hate him. 2 pages after this, I understand him. And this is the moment where obviously it flips for me, and I know that he's such a divisive character, but he's divisive for me because whichever part of the book I'm reading is how I feel about him. And
feeling the moment.
Yeah, and this is the bit for me that I can't get my head around. I don't know if he does that willingly because he wants her to show, and he's like, right, I'm here, show me everything, or if he turns just when he sees the Venin. But we know that and we get it's been my honour again, so we have to relive Liam's death. But Dane is a very good actor. However, I don't feel like he needs to give as much information to Varrish as he does.
I think he needs to, because first he needs to show to Varrish that yes, he saw something that's really useful. Then while he's saying it, Varrish can see Violet's reaction. So Violet was like, oh my god, we are all fucked, because I showed her everything that I wanted and he's still thinking just like the weapons. He doesn't care about the weapon, he doesn't care about the Venin. So she was like heartbroken. So Varrish was like, oh yes, it works, like, I'm getting what I want. And then was like, show me the dagger, I want to see if I was the same one.
This is clever, yeah.
Yes. And then, oh yes, it's this one. Boom, stop in the stomach, I guess.
Yeah, but we still get some, like, I don't think Dane's making it out
alive,
no. He's going to have the, like, redemption of the century. He's going to die to save, well, actually, I believe, my theory is that Dane will kill his own dragon to save Violet.
And then he will die with that.
He will die because, and we'll get this, like, heroic kind of Liam style, although people are going to hate me for saying this Liam style, but you get a conversation with a perfectly healthy person as they're slowly dying. So we'll get Dane's last words, because I do not trust Kath. And there's a thing, Kath vouched for Dane, it doesn't mean shit to me. I don't think I trust Kath at all.
Yeah.
So, and even in this chapter, we get a sentence that says, the dragons will vouch for those who want to come. How can we trust the dragons? We just don't know if we can trust the dragons.
Yeah.
So I can't trust Kath. And I just have this theory that Dane will kill his own dragon to save Violet somehow. And then he will die and we will all be heartbroken, even though we hated the man a couple of books ago.
Yeah, it's gonna be something like heartbreaking, I guess. Like, well, you've been my best friend from childhood, so I won't let anything bad happen to you.
Yeah, and it will be something to do with Dane's dad.
Dane's mom.
Maybe, but Dane's dad is the big bad guy, isn't he? So Dane will, like, sacrifice his dragon to save Violet or something like that. Yeah. I don't know why I'm so convinced. We have no idea what's going to happen.
No, but it's so good to speculate about it.
It's really fun. So Dane stabs Varrish. Varrish staggers backwards, holding his side, his eyes bulging as a roaring sound fills her ears. Dane gets Nora at knife point and says, let us past and you'll survive. And then Xaden's like, not so fast, Sonny Jim.
I take no such promises.
And don't we look up to the wrath of Dune in the form of gold-flecked onyx eyes?
Yeah. That was the end of chapter 35. So, chapter 36?
Chapter 36. The only crime worse than murdering a cadet is the unfathomable act of attacking leadership. I'm sorry. We've got major offender again. People murder cadets all the time. What is that about? How is it like the only crime worse than murdering a cadet? Like, you're not allowed to murder a cadet in their sleep. But he doesn't say the only crime worse than murdering a cadet in their sleep. People murder cadets all the time.
Yeah, if I think there's the weak link on the squad, just kill him. That's it.
Yeah, if you think that if you just don't like them, push them off the parapet on the way over. Just stick out a leg when they're trying to run over the gauntlet. People kill them all the time.
Yeah, true.
Jack ran a knife through Liam in War Games. This is weird, isn't it?
No, reflection what's actually going on.
So, yeah, but I don't know if it's a mistake. Or is it an old book and actually the murdering of cadets is a new thing? Because they don't want them to turn Venin or whatever.
I don't know if we had any reference about like how old is these people, if they're still alive, or it was like maybe when Basquiat was found. So are we talking about like 400 years ago?
We don't know. We don't know when it is. Right, Xaden's not happy. He's going to get her out of there.
Yes, after killing Nora, he's targeting Dane. And then Violet just trying to be in the middle, saying, don't kill her, he was the one who helped me. And so they were like, oh, so just because he's stabbing Varrish, then now he's like free or guilt. Now we like Dane.
Well, yeah, because he's intrinsic and he can
read
his intentions to get her out of there. His intention not to kill her. So that's the only reason. And he says that later. He says that's the only reason I knew I could trust Dane in that chamber. There's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you, remember?
Yeah.
Our favourite line. And again, I get like scenting bonded mates vibes when she says leather and mint overpower the iron and moss scent of the cell. Would a person's scent, leather and mint scent really overpower if it wasn't like some ultra high scent smell? I
mean, leather is normal because they're like all covered in leather. He probably is in the leather jacket. The mint is, I don't get it from what. Is he getting like kind of like an aftershave, or he put like some, like toothpaste.
Varrish struggles to his feet, holding the wound in his side. Venin. Shadow. This bit is terrifying, right? This is going to be so good on the TV
shadows
show.
grab him.
Shadows wrap around Varrish a second before they drag him across the floor. Horror widens his eyes as he stands, as the strands of black dump him into the chair, then bind his wrists and ankles in place of the shackles. That honour belongs to Violet if she wants it. And then Violet's like, she does. And she kills him. Which is, again, it shows how far Violet's been pushed here, because that was never Violet before. It's like,
she never think about kill anybody.
No, so this must be a bad guy.
She actually killed him because she tried, but she didn't have like the strength to do it. So Xaden is just grabbing the hand and jab him.
But she memorizes the look on his face as the life fades away from him.
Just to make sure that he's actually died. He's not coming back like Jack Barlow.
Yeah, when the nightmares inevitably come, which is another callback to the nightmares that she's also having. Right, so Xaden orders them to keep Atos breathing, and that's because of the intrinsic stuff, so we've already talked about that. We get the speech. That makes even Dane fall in love with Xaden. I'm sorry if you expect me to do the noble thing. I warned you. I'm not sweet or soft or kind, and you fell anyway. This is what you get, Violet. Me. The good, the bad, the unforgivable. All of it. I'm yours. His arm wraps around the small of my back, holding me steady and close. You want to know something true, something real? I love you. I'm in love with you. I have been since the night the snow fell in your hair and you kissed me for the first time. I'm grateful my life is tied to yours, because it means I won't have to face a day without you in it. My heart only beats as long as yours does, and when you die, I'll meet Malak at your side. It's a damned good thing that you love me too, because you're stuck with me in this life and every other that could possibly follow.
Good speech.
Swoon. However, there is some stuff in here. I'll meet Malak by your side. We are going to meet Malak. I don't care what you say. It's a damn good thing you love me too, because you're stuck with me in this life and every other that could possibly follow. Right, I'm just going to say it. Rebecca Yarros likes a twist.
Yes.
If you've read any of her other books, she likes a twist. She also likes a happy ending, but it's not the happy ending we believe we're going to get. Do we have them in both die but living but together? That wouldn't be, like, I don't want to spoil any of our other books, but it wouldn't be that surprising to me based off of a particular one that I'm thinking of.
For me, honestly, what I'm thinking is that in the end, everyone dies. Like for good reason, bad reasons, or good things. And that's the why we start to get in this like
from Jacinia.
Yeah, Jacinia, she will be like the head or the scribes, and that's why we get this correspondent recovery from Lieutenant Xaden Riorson, which means that he's not going to get any other rank.
He was just a lieutenant at the time. You say lieutenant, I say lieutenant to keep everybody happy. Lieutenant is the British way of saying it.
Yeah.
So everybody is given their rank at the time of writing.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a letter from...
So it could be general later on, but then...
Yeah, or you might just always want to be a lieutenant.
Okay, so Aaric arrives right after Xaden, and then he was like, "Dan, you didn't leave like anybody for me. I had to just go through all these bodies all the way to here." And he's happy to see Violet alive. He now like, okay, now we trust Dan. Like, yeah, we had to do it. Need to go. Xaden is carrying Violet. Dan as well, they had to leave. And then Gary is the one who said, we had a problem. Yeah, what is it? Well, we had like a general problem. And when Xaden goes with Violet, it's Mommy Sorrengail. Then finally she appeared.
She asks for 3 minutes with her daughter. She gives the clear liquid, which is the antidote for the serum.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "I didn't know, Violet, I swear it. I've been in cold air for the last week." And this is where we start to see a little bit of maybe humanity. However, Xaden doesn't believe she's humane at all. Xaden doesn't even want to leave her alone for 3 minutes with Violet. He doesn't trust her. She's a fucking monster, is what he said. The only time we hear the words monster used are with people that are potentially associated with Venin, or are associated with Venin, or are Wyvern. We did a search for monster. She says it a couple of pages ago, or the page before, about Varrish, and we don't know if he's a Venin or not, but we strongly suspect that he's in league with them. And the rest of the mentions are for Wyvern. Interesting that he can read intentions and he still says she's a monster. Because nothing we've seen so far actually does point her to being a monster.
Yes, it's really curious that he said that, because Mommy Sorrengail is exactly the same as Xaden. She will do anything for the children. We said this in another episode as well. So the two paths are very similar when it's related to Violet. Why he called her a monster. Mm. And the thing that caught my attention as well is that right after Violet says, "She's my mother." Mm. So like, okay, so that means that Violet is the daughter and a monster. Yeah. That she has then something from that.
It's a theory that Violet's mom turned while she was pregnant, and that's why she drained a little bit. She turned to save her unborn baby, and then potentially channeled again later when she came home and she had bloodshot eyes and she was all tired, and Violet was screaming and shouting that her mum was a Venin behind her father. So there's two kind of receipts that could be used as Violet's mum being a Venin. If she is, she's in control of it.
Yes, I think being Venin is kind of like a disease. You know, the people that are struggling with drugs or alcohol, they're struggling for the rest of their life. They're always just fighting against that every single day. So I think that maybe there were points when she felt that hunger for channeling from the ground more than other days. And that specific time when Violet was a little girl and she saw her like this was one of them. Maybe she was in a war, she was about to lose or something, and then she has to do it because they are addicted to the immense power that's coming from the ground.
Yeah. We get a couple of, when you have children, we can discuss the risks you'll take, the lies you'll be willing to tell in order to keep them safe. When you're a mother, talk to me about who you're willing to sacrifice so your child lives. Now walk. Oh, please, Rebecca, do not give us a pregnancy trope. I do not want Violet to have a baby.
Maybe by the end of everything. No. That's why they're not there anymore.
I don't
make a family.
I genuinely, please tell me, write in the comments if you like a pregnancy trope, because I can't stand them. instantly makes me think, no. And there's several books that are really, really popular, very, very popular. As soon as there's and I have 2 beautiful children, but I do not want no. There's a time and a place for it, and then
the end of the books, the end of the series, maybe.
Sorry.
The one set in Bali and be like happily ever after having a family.
I do, but I don't need to read about it. I don't know why it gives me the ick so much, because I love babies, but no. I get like people like what they like, people don't like what they don't like, and I just don't like it in my books.
Yeah, it's a scary reality. You don't want children in the books, isn't it?
I don't like other people having children. It's the main character, and when that like child then becomes a big part of the story, or even a little part
like
of the
a main
story.
character after
The main female character and the main male character, if they have a baby, I can think of 2 very popular books.
Anyway, so they're talking while Mommy Sorrengail's helping to go right to the top when Xaden is waiting. And then, yes, Mommy tells her that she knows everything about Wyvern and Venin, that she do everything just to protect her and the children. They tell her that, yes, she was the one who made the 107 scars, but as a tourist costume, which... It should be like something like, yeah, I did it, but it wasn't my fault. It was just something like normal. Violet was like, what?
She's trying to tell him. She's trying to tell her, and then Violet cuts her off. And I do think that is a really important part of why I don't think Xaden should think she's a monster. Because, yes, she carved those 107 scars into his back. But that's a Tirish custom. He does it himself for Violet. So he's not opposed to that as a thing. That alone is not enough for Xaden. And I've said this before, but that alone is not enough for Xaden to think that she's a monster. There's something else, and we don't know about it. There's something else about the deal. And I feel like there might be a clue in that he wanted the marked ones to have a chance. I gave him the quadrant as long as he took responsibility for them. In return for a favour to be named at a later date. You were that favour. And there's just something more to the deal that we're not knowing yet. So she knows what she's doing is wrong. She knows that the lies she's telling is wrong, but she can't. She's doing it for her children. One of which she thinks is dead, but isn't. Yeah, something she says is like really hits home as a parent. I might be a stranger to you, Violet, but you are far from a stranger to me. And you do know your children better than they know you, don't they? Because they just know you as a parent. They don't know you as a person.
Yeah, true. More in her case because she's been always so like absent. First as a general and then as a widow as well. So they don't know anything about her.
Yeah. She says something here which is a bit suspicious. It is you, right, stealing the weaponry. So she's looking at Xaden at this point. It is you, right, stealing the weaponry. Arming the very enemy trying to rip us apart. So does she know more about Poor Emil? Because Poor Emil are only trying to rip them apart because they need the weapons and they're desperate. That's what we think anyway.
Yeah.
But does she know more about Poor Emil, and do they have a double like intention?
I don't know if other people in Poor Emil had like a different factions as well, like the one they are just against the Venin, and the one they just want to like fight against the Venin without getting really into Navarre, and then the people that blames Navarre for all the problems, they just want to hit Navarre more than the Venin.
The other thing she says, which is really important, is your father made sure you'd know everything you needed or where to find it. You're all that's left of him, you know. And your father would make sure that you'd know everything you needed or where to find it. It's in the research. She knows where to find it. She's just not.
She's not doing it yet.
She can't be asked. She's too busy. She can't bother to go and find something that's going to help her. And the only other thing that stands out in that conversation is that she doesn't know about Brennan. And in this moment, I have no regrets about keeping that secret. And that's totally at odds with her, like, wanting to tell Mira. She wants to, like, just shows the relationship she has with her mum, and it can't even the fact that she wants to tell the truth is a fundamental part of her being, but she doesn't in this moment, and that's weird to me. That's at odds with her being a truth-sayer.
Yeah, I think just because she thinks that she deserves to think that Bran is dead.
I know, but that's not like Violet, is it? At her core, she believes in the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I genuinely think she's a truth sayer, but I am also going to call out the evidence against it. And that is one of the things where you think if she was really that bothered about the truth, she would at least have a little bit of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have any conflict. She has no regrets about keeping that secret. So they escape, and Violet in this moment forces Xaden, or wields him in Felix's words later on, into allowing the cadets to make a decision. Dane calls a formation, and Ten shares the memory. We get a mixed reaction. We get Carr coming up the steps, and we see Bodhi's signet for the first time.
Yes. And we still don't know exactly how it works.
We don't, but we get a bit more of a clue, don't we? How he turns his hand
like
to
a
turn
dial.
down a dial, which makes us think. We were convinced that he could just sense a signet and block it, but the fact that he uses a hand gesture there, does that mean he'd have to use a hand gesture against Xaden if he was trying to read his mind?
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's every single one of them, they had to do something with their hands to manifest the signet. So for me, if Xaden wants to read his intentions, but he has to do something as well about it, or I don't know if he can just do the gesture all the time with their fingers without nobody else noticing that he's doing it. They had a kind of like a little secret.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see that in action that all the fire from Carr just disappears. And they said that to Violet the body can contain signets, and she's the one who said, well, this is fucking terrifying.
Yeah. It is. It is terrifying. Why would he need that? But we're going to do a separate bonus episode in the coming weeks around Bodhi. We'll pick out a bit more of this stuff.
Yeah, but that specific line is the one that made me think that he is just the perfect bad guy for Xaden, because it would be kind of not possible to defeat him unless not with the signet. So it has to be hand to hand or something.
Someone else.
Yeah.
So we find out Devera is exactly who Violet thinks she is. Emeterio also comes. Kaori can't because his place is with the Empyrean.
And Devera is the one who confessed that she was the one who let them know about what happened in Soylad.
Yeah.
That we talked about it in the previous chapter when we saw this scry going on with this.
So they split the quadrant in two. 200 dragons and 101 riders, nearly half of the quadrant strong, and more are coming, taking a slower route with the hatchlings. The marked ones take a position at the edges of the flight formation, which obviously hides them from Melgren, but it's really hard to disguise a veritable cloud of dragons even at that altitude. But this is where these 4 chapters, and we've talked a lot about it, this is where it starts to get really exciting, isn't it? So we're going into part 2, and they have arrived at
Riorson house when Brennan is waiting for them and complain about why every time the Satan brings Violet, she's nearly dying.
Yeah, and what on earth have you two done? He's scared. Brennan looks down at me, his eyes wide with shock and a touch of fear. I mean, you did say you needed riders. She's not wrong. We might come back and do a little bit more on that chapter, I think, at some point, because there is so much in there to digest, but we've taken quite a long time tonight. But those 4 chapters are really where it starts to get exciting.
These are the end of part 1, so obviously there's a lot to talk about this. So we will carry on as well with part 2 coming back here, backwards and forward, to make sure that we're not missing any details, that we're giving all the juicy things about all of these chapters, they can give you more theories, some more foreshadowing.
Yeah. If you have made it through this mammoth episode of Faithfully Fantasy, well done. Thank you for listening to Faithfully Fantasy,
The husband and wife podcast talking all things Iron Flame.
Next week we will be covering chapters 37 to 40.
Yes, that's correct.
And we will be getting into more theories for Onyx Storm and beyond, just by reading line by line and dissecting it like we do. If you are not already following us on Instagram, please come and join the Fantasy Faithfuls in our comment section, where we just absolutely love talking to you.
Yes, we also have the website, faithfullyfantasy.com, where we have all the episodes of the podcast. We try to bring more stuff, so just follow us there as well, faithfullyfantasy.com.
Please give us a rating on your review and a rating on your favourite podcast app or YouTube. Share the podcast with anyone you know who loves Fourth Wing, Iron Flame and all things Empyrean.
Say goodbye for now, but we'll see you next week with more Faithfully Fantasy.